So, you have definitely been with a narcissist, and you remember a time seeing them with piles and piles of different types of medication. You also remember seeing the narcissist. It looks as if the narcissist has been fighting and struggling to stay alive. Their bodies are falling apart. You've also seen them struggling with all sorts of problems with their bodies. Some of them are complaining about health issues, which health issues actually have always been a part of them for as long as they remember. So they have, or they tend to have, different types of problems with their bodies and with their health. There is some people also who have claimed to see, who have happened to see narcissists. Actually, they have seen these narcissists losing fingernails or even sometimes losing their toenails. Some people have seen the narcissists losing their teeth. Problems with their eyes. Sometimes people have seen them it looks as if their ears, there's stuff oozing out of their ears. And I have personally seen a narcissist, stuff oozing out of their mouth. Now, this is not a coincidence, people. In this video, we are going to look at exactly why does the narcissist seem to be decomposing, or even sometimes people have tried to use the word decay. We are going to dive in a bit, and I'm going to explain to you people what exactly is going on in this video. Let's go now. Now, good morning, good evening, and a good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Denzomos, and I welcome you to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empaths free. For the new ones who just discovered my page, I talk about narcissism. And if that resonates with you, I invite you and I encourage you to like our page and subscribe. And for the ones who have always been with me, I welcome you back and I thank you for being part of this community. And I also thank you for your love and support. Now, I'm in the park. It's a bit cold, but I'll make it through. I'll get through this video. And the empath is actually the narcissist life support. What am I talking about by the narcissist life support? The narcissist is already struggling with health. They're already struggling with so many different kinds of issues, whether physical, emotional, psychological. They are struggling with all different types of issues. But there's one thing in particular, the narcissist they never mention. Most of the time, most of the individuals who have ended up with narcissists, there is one thing in particular that they don't usually talk about. You could have seen it, probably you may have asked a question in the beginning, but the narcissist has actually not mentioned that. They have not gotten into the details. And that is the reason why the narcissist seems to be decomposing. Now, by decomposing, I mean, personally, I've seen the narcissist decompose physically. In the beginning, I've seen many of them. Like I've mentioned in my videos, people, I've seen a long line of narcissists in my life. And then my awakening actually brought me back to those days, and I remembered one thing in particular, that each and every narcissist I saw, they were struggling to stay alive. They were struggling with a very deep and serious health issue. It could have been a cancer. It could have been something with their chest. Maybe they could have been having all sorts of support in their joints. Maybe something. Some of them were beaten during childhood, and maybe sometimes they're walking with pieces of metal in their bodies. The narcissist happens to have 1 or 2 or 3 different types of health issues. Now, when I'm talking like this, I don't mean like anybody who has health issues, they're a narcissist. No, that's not what I mean exactly. But for the ones of us who are familiar, or the ones of you who are familiar with narcissists, you know what I'm talking about. I have personally seen a narcissist. It looks as if pus was actually oozing out of their mouth. Now, this video might be disturbing for the ones who don't understand narcissism. It might be a disturbing video. But everything that has always been kept in the dark is coming to light. So we are going to talk about everything, unedited and unapologetic. So for the ones who don't understand narcissism, I'll apologize. This may not be the video for you. For the ones who are familiar with narcissism, you know what I'm talking about. There is also people who have complained to see narcissists actually, they are losing fingernails. Some people have complained to see narcissists, actually, they are losing their toenails. Some people have appeared to see narcissists actually struggling with all sorts of different kinds of STDs. They are kinds of, could have been herpes, could have been gonorrhea, could have been syphilis. There is always everything and anything supposed to be a health issue going on with the narcissist. If you have been with them, you are very familiar to see them suffering and struggling with an health issue. What is happening, people? What you need to understand here in this video is that the empath, you are the narcissist life support. The reason why they're looking for empaths, because the narcissist has got to feed. What are they feeding off? They are feeding off fuel. By them being with you, actually, by them getting involved with empaths, that is the only way the narcissist can survive. I want you to understand these people. If you ever drop off a narcissist, most of my videos have talked about discards. So whether they have discarded you or you have discarded them, I've talked about a discard. A narcissist has got to have somebody else very, very quickly and very urgently. Why is it like that? I've actually personally, I have had a narcissist tell me in front of me that there is a certain group of people. That time I was not awake, so I was not yet awakened. But the narcissist, I've had this myself. The narcissist has told me there is a certain group of people I need to understand, because I was asking to the reason why did we have to break up? The narcissist burst their own bubble by telling me there is a group of people who cannot handle being by themselves. And in my mind, I was thinking, what is that kind of group of people? She never told me who is this kind of group of people. What is this group of people they are talking about? There is some of them, the group of people who actually, they cannot handle staying by themselves, because as soon as they dump off somebody, they have got to run off to somebody new. So the narcissist has got to have somebody on the side, no matter what, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what they look like, what is their health condition, what is their financial, they have got to have somebody on the side. The narcissist has got to have an empath on the side. Because it is the empath, it is just the empath who has the capability of actually fulfilling the narcissist. The narcissist is just looking for somebody to fulfill them, actually, because the narcissist, they know they are not complete from the inside and outside. They know that they are not complete. They know that they are not whole. So they need somebody, especially an empath, to fill up that gap and to take up that space. The empaths, most of them in the beginning, you've seen this. The very first question you've asked the narcissist, because after a couple of days, maybe probably after the love bombing phase, usually after the love bombing, and sometimes you have gone a bit deep into that relationship, you remember asking a question. You've seen the narcissist with piles and piles of medication boxes. Sometimes you remember seeing them running off to sometime medical visits. You asking them what is everything with, what is going on with these medical visits. You asking them, why do they have to see a doctor at a certain time of the month, or at a certain time of the week? You remember struggling. Actually, remember fighting about it, because they don't want you to ask about it. They don't want you to mention it, because the narcissists, actually, they have always secretly had health issues they are struggling with. The narcissist body, people, let me tell you something. The narcissist body is technically, I don't know, practically decomposing. These individuals, people, let me tell you something. If you ever drop a narcissist off by surprise, the reason why most of the modern psychology has talked about narcissistic injury, that is because you are actually leaving the narcissist to die. If you throw down the narcissist, if you jump out of the narcissist's life and disappear out of thin air, and the narcissist will never see you again, I can guarantee you, people, within 1-2 weeks, you can come back and check on that narcissist. You're going to find the narcissist decomposing. And that is what they call, the psychology has named it the narcissistic injury, because you are delivering an injury on its own, an injury that is actually almost sending them to their grave, because a narcissist cannot handle, they have never and they cannot handle staying by themselves. The narcissist will decompose to death. This video will talk about the truth. And I cannot mention something that I've not seen. I cannot mention something that I don't know about. I'm talking about the truth. This is the page of truth. You can do your research. There is people around the world who have actually complained seeing narcissists decompose in front of them. And most of the time, the narcissists, you see them struggling with medication. You see them running to the bathroom, taking an injection, a secret injection, taking a needle. You see them running with boxes and boxes of medication in their bags. They are running with different kinds of health issues. The narcissist people, they are decomposing. These are individuals, they don't have their health, they don't have it all together. They don't have their health together. And I can guarantee you people, if you want to know what I'm talking about, if you know that you're dealing with a narcissist, I want you to discard that narcissist. Walk around a couple of weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks later. Come back and find that narcissist. We are talking about a situation whereby that narcissist is not going to get another source of supply in that time. Come back 3, 4 months later, people. You're going to tell me what the narcissist looks like. What that narcissist looks like. You're going to confirm to me what I'm talking about. You are going to actually physically find the narcissist decomposing. All of a sudden, you're going to see their faces altered. You're going to see them actually, they cannot breathe. You're going to find them, sometimes you can even find them on what do they call it? You're going to find them on their bed. You're going to find them motionless. The narcissist has got to have somebody to survive. The narcissist has got to have an empath on the side to help them go through life and to survive. So we are the life support of the narcissist. They are secretly decomposing. And this has not been something what only you has experienced. This has been something that actually even the people before you have also experienced with the narcissist. They always have an issue going on with them secretly, even that most of them, they don't mention it. But even if you try to ask them a question about what exactly is going on with their health, that conversation is going to end into an argument. If not a fight for that matter, it is going to end very badly with them, between the two of you. So the narcissist people, you have to understand this in my video. That's what I wanted to mention in my video, because for the ones of you who have been with the narcissist, you are very familiar with this situation, whereby most of the people involved with those narcissists, you have seen them struggling and suffering with different types of health issues. It could be an STD. It could be something with their lungs. It could be something with their stomachs. It could be something with their head. Even sometimes you've seen them, most of the cases, you are wondering if those people have been taking a shower, because their own skin seems to be peeling off like a reptile. They seem to have a reptile skin. Their skins are peeling off. You look in their heads, the head is full of dandruff. It will look as if they are not washing their hair for ages. For the ones actually, I've had this story as well, because I know somebody who has met a narcissist, and the first thing what they did when they found the narcissist was physically decomposing. Actually, the narcissist, it looked as if the narcissist had not showered for months. It is the empath who came in and started taking care of the narcissist from the beginning, and started to repair everything about them, give them a shower, go for a haircut and everything. The narcissist people, their bodies are not in shape. They are not in shape, whether physically, emotionally, or even psychologically. The narcissists, they are not in shape. These individuals are decomposing. Their bodies are decaying. A lot of you have slept with narcissists. Well, of course, in the beginning, in the love bombing phase, there are no limitations and there are no limits. So you have probably slept with a narcissist, and a couple of weeks, months later on, you have actually found yourself with an STD. The narcissist people, let me tell you something. If you're involved with a narcissist, this is an alarm. You had better start thinking about packing your bags and leave that partnership for good, forever and for good, and never looking back for whichever reason. Because people, I can guarantee you, if you're involved with a narcissist, in this video, I'll guarantee you, you are in for the biggest surprise of your life, because you are not going to believe what is going to end, how that thing is going to end, and what you're going to discover later on. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. If there's something you want to add on, if you have had a situation whereby you've seen the narcissist look like they're struggling or they're fighting with health issues, sometimes even secret, or even sometimes they've come out public about these health issues, I want to know in the comment section below if there's something I've not mentioned. Other than that, people, much love and blessings. I love you all, and there's more signing out. I'll catch you soon.